We've got Noa Hoffman now to speak to, political correspondent of The Sun. She's going to tell us about page 10 in The Sun today by Julie Bindel. At last, we've seen sense on sex. After 20 years of hate, bullying and physical attacks from trans activists for daring to demand women-only spaces, finally something has changed. But this is what the UK government spokesperson said yesterday. We have always supported the protection of single-sex spaces based on biological sex. This ruling brings clarity and confidence for women and service providers such as hospitals, refuges and sports clubs. Single-sex spaces are protected in law and will always be protected by this government. I'm not entirely sure that's the impression they gave, Noah. Very good morning to you. Has it always been the case?
Morning, Mike. Yesterday we saw a lot of rewriting of history from Labour. To an extent that was actually quite astounding. Labour has never, as a party, let alone individual ministers, been clear-cut on the issue of whether a woman can have a penis. For years, they've struggled to answer this basic fundamental fact of biology. And Keir Starmer himself is actually one of the top Labour brass who really struggled with this. And if I may just give you a brief timeline to highlight. So in 2022, Keir Starmer was asked to define a woman. He said trans women are the same as women. That's not just a fact, that's the law. So that's what Keir Starmer said in 2022. Skip forward a year in 2023, he changed his stance a bit as people were starting to realise that these brave feminist campaigners actually, really had a strong point here. And as people started to sort of cower less from the fury of woke extremists, then Keir Starmer said, a woman is an adult female, but wouldn't really elaborate on that further. Then we had the most bizarre attempt at defining a woman of all in July 2024, when he said 1 in 10,000 women can have a penis, but the rest of them can't.
Right.
So to say that he's had a clear-cut position on this is just not true.
Absolutely. And for single-sex spaces and that conversation, let's check this out. I've got a load of quotes here. One from David Lammy. Those who want to deny males access to women's spaces are dinosaurs who want to hoard rights. Alex Sobel MP, when he was asked, do you agree that there should be sex-segregated facilities for women in hospitals, schools, refuges and prisons? He said no. They're now claiming that they always believed that that was the case. Lisa Nandy, should child rapist Christopher Wharton be housed in a women's jail now he identifies as a woman? She says, I think trans women are women and they should be accommodated in a prison of their choosing. Huh?
Yeah. It's quite funny, and it is quite brave of them to come out on a limb and say that they've been fighting the good fight the whole time, when we literally have pages and pages of receipts suggesting that otherwise. Now, don't get me wrong, any change in position to one of common sense is going to be welcomed, but I think the public don't want to be taken for fools. Yeah. And I think the women who were there from the beginning fighting this fight, brave people like Julie, our columnist, brave national treasures like J.K. Rowling, those were the women who were there for the beginning, making sure that our rights were upheld, and they are the people who deserve all the praise today.
Absolutely right. And Julie writes in The Sun today about various groups of women, the campaigning Darlington nurses, Kathleen Stock, the lecturer who was hounded out of Sussex University, Professor Joe Phoenix, also choreographer Rosie Kay, whole numbers of people which we've forgotten about probably, who either lost their jobs or their livelihoods or were booted out. I mean, you yourself put a tweet out yesterday, Noah, about when you were at university. You could never have probably said what has now been stated to be the law.
Yeah, it was crazy. So just a very brief anecdote. I remember at Edinburgh University, and I was there during the peak woke years. So it was really, really rough. I remember being in a feminism tutorial, and we had to sort of state an observation about the room. And I said, oh, it's really interesting. Everyone here is a woman. And then someone put up their hand and said, excuse me, you can't assume everyone's identity. Some people may be non-binary. Some people may be men. Right. I'm like, no, you're all obviously women. And there was just this absolute thought policing that was pervasive in universities. And you know what, Mike, after I put out that tweet, someone DM'd me, a current Edinburgh Uni student, and said, actually, it's not got any better. Really? And in some areas, it's got worse. Right. So in the general public discourse, there's now been an acceptance, but there are sectors of society sort of immune to the vibe shift in common sense, and I think academia is one of them.
Yeah, I think absolutely right. And this is where it's going to start getting interesting. The Times take on it this morning is that there's going to be chaos in some public sector bodies, in particular the NHS and even the police and possibly other forms of civil service and government, because they've lived this kind of bizarre alter ego life for so long, where people have had to put their pronouns at the bottom of emails, where, you know, men have been walking into hospitals being asked if they're pregnant. You know, are they out now going to completely reverse all that, do you think?
Well, if we're taking Health Minister Karen Smith as a starter, who is on the morning round today, it's not looking good. She was unable to answer what hospitals should be doing now in light of this ruling. The Health Minister could not answer that question. She was also asked whether trans people should be using female changing rooms. She couldn't answer the question. So there's a long way to go before we reach any sort of cohesive understanding as a society about what this ruling means, because there are still individuals in positions of power, as well as institutions and sectors in society, that really just cannot grapple with this basic concept of biology.
Right. And I've been talking about Keir Starmer obviously a lot this morning. He's on holiday. Nobody knows where. He's been very quiet. He hasn't tweeted for practically 24 hours. He's literally just put a tweet out now, 20 minutes ago, which says this: waiting list down, appointments up, more patients able to access tests and treatments closer to home. Our plan for change is fixing the NHS so working people can get care when and where you need it. So I've just asked him, will male patients still be asked if they're pregnant? Because you would think that here is the man who continually goes on and on about how he's the top lawyer in the country. He was the top prosecutor in the country at the CPS. He lives by the rule of law. He loves a legal framework. Everything he does is framed by the law. Why has he said nothing about this new Supreme Court ruling?
I think he will be very happy that his holiday coincides with this ruling. He really does not enjoy talking about this subject.
Yeah.
And the lead up to the general election, years in the build up, actually, he really tried to avoid it like the plague. So I'm not surprised that he's not, or his staff haven't said anything, although privately they're trying to speak on his behalf, sort of briefing that Keir Starmer held this view all along, although his previous quotes speak to the contrary. Well, but I'm not surprised.
No, exactly right. And as far as the holiday is concerned itself, I mean, we know sometimes that, you know, politicians go on holiday and they ask for us not to reveal where they've gone. Is that the case here, or do people just not know where he is?
Yeah, it is surprising, actually. No one has figured it out yet, but I do think it's only a matter of time before a tipster sends in a sneaky snap that they've taken of the PM wherever.
PM and his budgie smugglers.
Yeah, in budgie smugglers. We found out last time he went to Madeira, and that sort of came to light quite quickly. So yeah,
wasn't that where he put his kids on ahead of everybody that was queuing for that ride or something, wasn't it?
Oh, I'm not sure. I actually didn't see that one, but yeah, I think we will. I'm sure it will come to light, but no one is sure yet.
Yeah, interesting. We'll keep watching this space. No, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Noa Hoffman there, political correspondent at The Sun.